You think you are fighting demons. You are fighting procrastination, right? Spiritual warfare is the ultimate excuse for personal failure. I used to believe in energetic attacks blocking my launches. I would blame negative entities when a product didn't sell. The reality, I just didn't have a proper marketing plan. I didn't do the work. Here's the truth. Energy is psychological, not demonic. Those archetypes you're fighting, they are just repressed parts of you. The whole spiritual warfare narrative is a convenient story we tell ourselves to avoid looking at our own patterns. I'm going to expose 3 specific excuses people use to avoid accountability: the responsibility lie, the spiritual ego lie, the financial lie. By the end of this, you'll see how to move from victim consciousness to creator consciousness through radical accountability. That's the only way out. The external enemy narrative is just an avoidance mechanism. You create a story about being attacked so you don't have to admit you are undisciplined. I learned this the hard way. I had a failed launch once. I blamed it on a negative entity draining my energy. I spent days trying to clear my space. The real problem? I didn't have a proper marketing plan. I hadn't built an email list. I hadn't done any outreach. The demon was my own lack of preparation. Why does fighting demons feel more heroic than admitting you didn't do the work? Because facing your own laziness is uncomfortable. It's easier to be a spiritual warrior than to admit you need a better routine. It's a pattern I see all the time. People blame spiritual forces instead of facing their need for better time management. They'll talk about psychic attacks when what they really need is a budget and a planner. They'll do protection rituals instead of discipline rituals. The practical alternative is daily accountability. You need a system, a budget, a planner, specific discipline rituals that actually move your life forward, not this fantasy battle against invisible forces. Ask yourself this key question: what specific task am I avoiding right now? Be honest. Is it making sales calls? Is it writing that proposal? Is it finally creating that content? That's your real demon, not some external entity. Once you stop blaming demons, you face the ego's next trick, the spiritual ego lie. This is spiritual narcissism. You believe you are so advanced that you are being targeted. It's a defense mechanism to avoid looking at your own shadows. I've seen this destroy people's growth. In spiritual communities, there is this weird competition over who suffered more attacks. It becomes a status symbol. The more you are targeted, the more important your mission must be. It's complete nonsense. It just keeps people stuck in victimhood. I used to fall for this. I would think my struggles were a sign of my spiritual significance. In the reality, I was just avoiding my own insecurities and fears. I was using the chosen one fantasy as an excuse not to do the mundane work of building a real business. Real spiritual power is measured by sovereignty, not by the number of your enemies. How much control do you have over your own mind, your emotions, your actions? That's what matters, not how many demons you claim are after you. The practical alternative here is humility and self-inquiry. You need to get brutally honest with yourself. What responsibility does this belief let me avoid? What part of my life am I not taking charge of because it's easier to play the spiritual martyr? This ego game has a direct financial component. That's the next lie. This is fear marketing disguised as spirituality. They sell you protection from imaginary threats. I've spent a lot of time looking at websites of these gurus on crystals and courses that promised to shield me from negative energy. The reality, these protection products create dependency. You buy one crystal, then you need another. You take one course, then you need the advanced version. It's a business model built on keeping you afraid. They profit from your belief that you are under attack. Real security comes from internal resilience and practical skills, not from buying more stuff. Then looking at different spirituality stuff forums, I realized how much people were spending on this stuff. They spend more on protection courses than on actual business education, real personal development training. That's where I knew people were being played. The practical alternative is building competence instead of buying protection. Create a budget instead of buying an abundance crystal. Develop a journaling practice instead of paying for aura cleansing. Build real skills that make you financially secure. Examples are everywhere. People spending thousands on spiritual retreats when they haven't even fixed their credit score. People buying expensive aura cleansing services when they need to learn basic financial planning. It's all the same pattern. Avoiding the practical work by focusing on spiritual threats. This industry preys on fear. They tell you you are under attack, so you'll buy their solution. But the real attack is on your wallet. The real demon is your own avoidance of financial responsibility. Once you see these three lies clearly, you need a way to break the pattern. That's where the reality check comes in. I developed a simple 3-minute daily practice to replace warfare thinking. It's brutally effective. You do it every morning before you check your phone or get into your day. There are 3 questions you ask yourself. What am I actually feeling right now? Not what spiritual story you are telling yourself. What emotion is actually present? Anxiety, fear, laziness. Name it directly. Second question. What am I avoiding? What specific task or responsibility I am putting off by creating this spiritual drama? Be honest. Is it making that difficult phone call? Is it facing a financial reality? Is it doing the work you know you need to do? And third question, what would responsibility look like in this situation? What one concrete action could I take today that would move me forward instead of keeping me stuck in this battle narrative? This practice builds discernment between internal patterns and external fantasies. You start to see when you are creating enemies to avoid facing yourself. It's uncomfortable at first, but it gets easier. There is an optional journaling prompt I use. If no one were attacking me, what truth would I face? This cuts through all the spiritual nonsense instantly. You see the reality you've been avoiding. How this practice moves you from victim to creator is simple. Victim consciousness looks for external causes. Creator consciousness takes responsibility for internal state. That's the shift that changes everything. Real world example. Last week I felt energetically drained before a big meeting. Did a ritual. Realized I was actually nervous because I hadn't prepared enough. Prepared for the meeting. The drainage disappeared. No spiritual warfare needed. The key is consistency over intensity. Do this 3-minute practice every day. Not just when you feel attacked. Build the muscle of self-awareness. That's the real protection. So here's the truth. Spiritual warfare is just the story you tell to avoid your own patterns. It's more comfortable to fight demons than to face your discipline issues. More exciting to be a chosen one than to do the boring work of building a real life. More convenient to buy protection than to develop real competence. Sovereignty comes through radical accountability. That's the one sentence takeaway. You become powerful by taking responsibility, not by fighting imaginary battles. Here's your direct call to action. Practice the reality check ritual for 1 week. 3 questions every morning. What am I feeling? What am I avoiding? What would responsibility look like? That's it. See what shifts when you stop fighting imaginary battles. Notice how much energy you reclaim when you stop projecting your patterns onto spiritual enemies. You'll be amazed at how much gets done when you're not busy being at war. That's it. Go practice the ritual. See you next time.